EPA, from Administrator Lee Zeldin to the Region 6 Director Scott Mason, and all of the folks from EPA Region 6 have confidence in them as well. I also want to give a big shout out to the parish president. There he is, Robbie Miller. Look, he has been, his leadership and his team here in the parish have been unwavering since the dreadful day of the Smitty's explosion. Look, I think that, we're here today because I woke up Sunday morning and we saw some video from Eric McVicker. And when I saw it, I probably, like a lot of people out there, kind of just glanced at it, and I didn't even realize that one was a pond and one was a river. Like, I thought it was all one body of water. And I immediately felt that we needed to lean in a little harder. Picked up the phone, which is a Sunday, by the way, and again, I want to compliment Scott Mason, because he picked up that phone on Sunday. That's the kind of quality of leadership that the president has put in place. And then I picked up the phone and called our secretary, Courtney Burgett, who she likes to hide. That's okay, she does a great job. And our secretary of the Department of Conservation, Dustin Davis. And we started talking collectively about the need to make some changes, or to really look in and find out why we were seeing some of the things that we saw on Sunday. Since that time, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott here in a minute to kind of walk. Since that time, we have made significant progress. Significant progress. And while I know it's real easy to throw popcorn from the stands, and it's easy to make criticism when you're not on the ground, I will tell you that this incident is a unique incident. It falls between regulatory bodies. So, like I said, I picked up the phone and called Courtney Burgett, who's over at DEQ, and Dustin, who's over at Conservation. Why? Because, again, it's one of those incidents that falls like inside of a donut hole of who's responsible. Personally, I know that on these situations, especially when you're dealing with bodies of water and oil in particular, you would see the Coast Guard, right? And you would see the Louisiana Oil Spill Coordinator's Office. If it was like a traditional pipeline, oil-field pipeline, or a rig or whatnot. EPA is normally tasked with cleaning up large chemical spills, or where you would think of trust fund sites, or brownfields, or Superfund sites. Those are sites under which the damage has already been done, and the ability to triage it and the cleanup is long term. So I want to first make sure that people understand that I do not believe that anyone inside these agencies failed. However, the ability to put everybody back together was necessary. So again, I want to commend Scott Mason for coming down right away. I mean, I think he was on the ground as early as Monday morning, making the changes necessary. And I think that what you see and what you see in these videos is an absolute improvement. And so with that, I want to turn it over to Region 6 Administrator, Director, I don't know what they call it. Administrator Scott Mason.
You got it. Thank you, Governor. I appreciate it. So I do want to start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Mason. I am the Regional Administrator for the South Central United States portion of the EPA, also known as Region 6. We're based out of Dallas. And I do want to start with thanking Governor Landry. I think his leadership. Governor and I, as all of you know, were on the ground almost immediately after this happened. And we have been engaged ever since, both of us, from both of our staffs and our teams and all that are playing a support role. So I really appreciate Governor Landry. We have a great relationship. It is a true partnership. I also want to thank LDEQ Secretary Courtney Burgett, who is standing behind us. Courtney and I speak almost daily, so we are in constant communication. And I just want to also mention that the parish president here, Robbie, has played a tremendous role. He's done a fantastic job. His parish residents should be very proud of his efforts of leading this parish and his daily engagement with us down at the site location. While Democrats have chosen to shut down the United States government, that does not change our emergency response efforts here in Tangipahoa Parish. We've redoubled our efforts to ensure that we're being responsive to the folks that are participating in this press conference and to this community of Roseland and the greater Tangipahoa Parish. And we're inspiring our staff and our contractors to find new and innovative ways to speed up our work to closure. It has been over 5 weeks, as the governor noted, since the fire and explosion occurred, and we have made significant progress in that time. Since taking the lead for the cleanup response on August 24th, just to kind of walk through this timeline and what progress we've made with you, we put out the fire, we stabilized the facility preventing leaks. Earthen dams and booms were installed around the site to prevent any runoff. We also installed a rainwater collection system around the site capable of capturing up to 1 million gallons per event. Daily recovery rates increased from 85,000 gallons per day to over double that rate of 175,000 gallons a day. We've recovered over 4 million gallons of oily materials from the Tangipahoa River and ponds, so we estimate that we're 75% complete with the oily material recovery effort. We've implemented measures to prevent additional oily materials from reaching the ponds and the rivers, and we've deployed 22,400 feet of containment boom and 1,700 bales of sorbent pads that absorb these petroleum-based liquids. We have 194 frac tanks that are on site right now to collect all of the oily waste, which are being emptied every single day, and they're sent to an approved disposal facility. We've deployed over 300 EPA staff and contractors with crews that are working 24/7, literally around the clock. We have also met with 250 members of this community in the field and at our regular open houses. EPA's mission is to protect human health and the environment, and that is why we're here. Together with our state partners, the combined federal-state team has been able to evaluate potential impacts from the soot and oily materials and provide science-based findings to the public. Based on soot sampling data, it was determined that there was no indication that soot posed a risk to public health. EPA conducted upstream and downstream water sampling for water quality in the Tangipahoa River. Downstream samples had an elevated presence of total petroleum hydrocarbons as compared to the upstream sample, which is to be expected. We've continued community air monitoring throughout the response with no exceedances as well. We are also working with our state partners on soil sampling. The Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry determined that there is no restriction for agriculture and livestock in the affected areas. EPA also reviewed the soil data to determine if there is a risk to human health using long-term exposure assumptions for farmers and other outdoor workers in its risk analysis. All results are below EPA thresholds that would indicate increased risk to human health. That is great news, but we know we have a lot more work to do. 2 weeks ago, EPA put together a task force of experts to ensure that we are doing our cleanup in the most efficient and productive manner. And on Monday, as the governor noted, along with the state of Louisiana, together we identified those additional measures I'll describe in detail here in a moment. But since the beginning of this response, we have worked to reduce oily waste in the ponds. In late August, there was around 18 inches of oily material in those ponds, and currently there is about 1/4 of an inch of oily materials, which is a significant reduction, which we've measured as the amount of oily material that we've removed, 4 million gallons to date. That's the equivalent, think about this, that is the equivalent of 6 Olympic-sized swimming pools, and we will continue to do so until our cleanup efforts are completed. I think it's really important for us to note that we've been relying on drone footage to help us to identify the extent of the spread of the oily materials. However, drone footage can only see what is on the surface, and it is not a good indication of how much oily material has been removed or how much progress that we've made. We know that we can always increase our pace, and our progress to clean up a spill of this magnitude and also protect human health across this community. As a result, we're continuing our work with the state of Louisiana so that we can bring in additional national and local expertise, people that know what they're talking about, know what they're doing down here, increase the pace of our efforts, and identify additional oily recovery strategies. Starting this week, as the governor just noted, we are bringing in more equipment and adapting our recovery approaches in order to improve recovery of oily material on the Tangipahoa River as well as nearby ponds, which will speed up our work. We have secured marsh buggies and skimmers that pump 300 gallons a minute, airboats, more boom and frac tanks, and disposal sources. At the request of the state of Louisiana, we are also removing affected oily vegetation in the ponds around the Smitty site. While we're removing that vegetation, this is very important to note, conditions in the pond could temporarily look worse. That's because you're shaking out the oily material from the vegetation. But the additional oily material that drains from the vegetation will indeed help us recover the remaining oily waste that's in those ponds. We're deploying more community liaisons throughout Tangipahoa Parish to meet with residents and to answer their questions. We're also providing frequent updates on our X, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. I want you all to know that transparency and honesty are our priority in the U.S. EPA and under this administration. You know, there's a human side to this and a human face, and I met with that last night. It was a wonderful lady who came up to me, and she thanked me for our cleanup efforts. She praised our efforts, but she said, we just want to get back to normal everyday life here. That's the impact, and that's what we're expediting this. We're going to be thorough in our cleanup, but we're going to expedite this as quickly as possible so that that lady and every other affected resident of Roseland and Greater Tangipahoa Parish can get back to their normal lives. Cleaning up a spill of this size is certainly challenging, but I can say with absolute confidence that this EPA, under this leadership, is up to that challenge. Here in our incident command posts and throughout the EPA, we're inspiring our staff and our contractors to find innovative ways to speed up our way to a closure. We're working with our state partners, with the governor, with LDEQ, with LDNR and others to look for solutions and work hard each and every day until our work here is done.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you covering everything that goes on in Tangipahoa Parish. I want to thank the governor for coming. Thank Scott Mason for being here, President Trump, as the governor said, for putting together a team that has worked so hard. All the details were given today by the governor and by Scott in the efforts. I think today is day 40 as I calculated. But I want to remember that there were 400 people who lost their jobs whenever this event began. Of those, about 200 are supposedly back working. But our families have been affected. We've had people with their homes affected. They're not sure what went on and what's happened to them, what will happen to them. But I know that through the testing, through the cleanup, that we're going to get them back whole. I want to encourage them to go to the website, to our website, where it has the Smitty's hotline number. Make the claims to help get your home clean. Make the claims that you are concerned about in your life and your family. But back to the efforts, I also want to recognize the folks that are on the ground. This team that are standing here with us behind me today is incredible, no doubt about it. They're the leadership. But there's folks on the ground that work, and you see them in those videos and in the pictures, who are doing the dirty work, who are out there every day, 12-hour shifts, around the clock. And I want to thank them for the work that they do, they truly are appreciated in Tangipahoa Parish for the work that they do. And I know, there's no doubt about it, we've been through floods, we've been through freezes, we've been through hurricanes, we've been through tornadoes. We will get through this, and we'll be bigger and better than we were before, and we will be maintaining that Tangipahoa Parish is the best parish in the state. God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank all of the EPA personnel that are here today, because there is, as Scott mentioned, a government shutdown that certainly could be fixed in the United States Senate if people would just recognize that these are the types of activities that the federal government needs to do. And so I want to thank those employees that are here today. I know how nerve-wracking it is. I went through a couple of government shutdowns when I was in Congress. So again, thank you as well. Again, I want to thank the Tangipahoa Parish President Robbie Miller, the council, all of the parish employees here who have been working diligently, the DEQ employees, the contractors. As both Robbie and Scott says, there's a lot of dirty work that's going on out there. I also want to say thanks to the citizens out there for you know, like Eric did, like showing videos out there and showing us where we might have some deficiencies. That's okay too. In any plan, you don't get it right the first time. And what is important is that we recognize any deficiencies that we may have. We made the adjustments, and we're going to get this place cleaned up, and we're going to get the town of Roseland back up in the condition that it was prior to this incident. And with that, we'll take any questions. I guess we'll go from left to right. Hold on, we'll go from, hold on. Hold on, we're going to go in nice order. We're going to do a nice order. There you go. You go first.
So we appreciate you addressing this topic today. We spoke with some residents who had questions about bringing the resources sooner, and I spoke with two women today who had questions about the impact to their well water as well as the impact to seafood. If you could speak to that, please.
Yeah, look, let me kind of take those in order. The first part of it was,
Well, some people who
yeah, so the Department of Environmental Quality, and we'll bring the expert up.
Well, the seafood, let me take the seafood first. I'll take them out of order. So as of a week ago, I'm sorry, my apologies. My name is Courtney Burdett. I'm the Secretary of LDEQ. The State Department of Environmental Quality, in conjunction with the State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, has conducted extensive fish tissue sampling of seafood, crab, and a variety of fish species. Those samples have been submitted to a laboratory, and we're awaiting the results, and we will make those publicly available when we have them. In terms of well water, we don't anticipate any effects to groundwater at this time. We are actively monitoring the situation, and if anything changes, again, we will make the public aware.
in regards to the resources being deployed earlier, and some people asked about where is Smitty's. We haven't heard from them yet. Have you all heard from them?
We've been in contact with Smitty's. Obviously, you know, they are the party that's involved here. I can say that we've been working very closely with EPA in that regard, and we'll continue to work with them in the future. There are meetings going on presently with Smitty's as we speak.
And on the resources side, look, the rearview mirror is always clearer than the windshield. And to me, it really doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's where we're going into the future. But do appreciate the question. All right.
Yeah, Governor, I want to hone in on that. It's been more than a month. People have lost their jobs. Ash was rained all over this community. People are still seeing oil in their waterways. Why weren't these new resources brought in sooner?
Well, again, it's so easy to be able to make that criticism from the 50-yard line or in the stands, right? I will tell you that every incident like this is different, and it's challenging. Like I said earlier, these are one of these incidents that kind of fell in between different regulatory agencies. We have been challenged with being able to pull different regulatory agencies together in order to have this cleanup be effective. I think that what you see in the Tangipahoa River is a great example of how it is working. I mean, the site has been divided up into different cleanup sites. Look, I can tell you, again, no plan is 100% perfect. I don't think it's 100% perfect in your newsroom either. And so again, I think that it's where we're going. It's the fact that we are here today. And it's important that we continue to test, we continue to monitor, and we continue to put that information out to the public. There's been no hiding of the ball. We have been completely transparent.
Smitty's has indicated that it wants to rebuild. What does accountability from the state look like to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, again, look, I can tell you right now, these types of accidents happen. There is no 100% proof plan out there or a situation under which you can guarantee that something like this doesn't happen. You can take lessons learned, you can understand what happens, that's the job of the folks behind me, and then try to make sure that you don't have those types of incidents. Again, right now, I think it's important that we concentrate on getting the place cleaned up, and then how we move forward would be the next phase.
Does the state plan to
So,
hold?
I'm sorry.
Does the state
Yep.
plan to hold?
Yes,
cities
yes, sir.
accountable, Governor?
Yes, sir, go ahead. Nope.
Looking at these posters here, from what I'm understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like there's been some look at least most of the river, but it still looks like downriver at where the river flows into Lake Pontchartrain still hasn't been assessed. Why is that? And I guess why hasn't there been a priority in really looking at Lake Pontchartrain? Because at that point, then we have an even bigger issue.
We don't have that issue. Lake Pontchartrain is safe, and we are constantly evaluating the river, and yes, we are cleaning up further downstream. We are getting there, we're constantly monitoring that. Adam, I don't know if you want to speak a little further to that. Yeah,
Thanks.
Adam Adams is our incident commander.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here and getting this information out. Adam Adams, EPA Region 6 On-Scene Coordinator, the current incident commander for this incident. So we've got the bulk of the oily waste out of the river. There's a lot of pockets in the little burrows and along the shores. We're washing that out, and it's going downstream. We have a lot of containment boom to catch that. It's not going to make it to Lake Pontchartrain.
Never did.
And as we're doing it, correct, it never has, it didn't. So we're starting our assessments from the north to the south. We don't want to start from the south because we would still have oil upstream, right? And then if a breakthrough happened, we'd have to rewash it and re-respond. So we're starting upstream and working our way downstream and making really good progress.
I have a follow-up question regarding, I know you don't want to look in the rear view, but I guess why did it take video from a resident to kind of push that
Yes, sir.
response? You guys mentioned that you have drones available. One would imagine just hearing that you have drones and you're using drones to monitor what the river looks like, you guys should have seen this.
Well, again, I think that it's important to recognize that you know, what you saw in the video and what people, I guess, took offense to or was shocking to them was not the river. That's important to recognize. It was not. It was the pond. And again, what you have to realize is that there's vegetation in and around there. That vegetation continues to have oil on it. It continues to leach out when it rains, because it rains here in Louisiana. We've been blessed to not have as much rain as we've normally had. It leaches out and it gets ugly again. That gave us an opportunity to recognize, hey, what's happening from the air. Again, look, let's be honest. How many of you go through your day without a mistake? How many of you go through your day without saying, man, I wish I could do something a little different, or maybe this is a better way of doing it, okay? And so what I think is remarkable is that the T-minus is nobody pointing any fingers. It's saying, hey, we got a deficiency here, or maybe we could do something a little better there, and we're getting it cleaned up. That's the important thing. That's the message to the community out there, is that EPA is here. They're on the ground. They're not hiding behind anything. Neither is state government. Neither is the governor. I am here today to say, guess what? We're going to lean in and make sure that any deficiencies out there are addressed.
We have last question right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we'll get to you. We'll get to you. Don't you worry. We're not good. I won't leave you out. You're all the way to my right. Always like the right. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, so I believe that in deer hunting, specifically by archery, starts today for this area. So for deer hunters, I was wondering if someone could provide, if someone wanted to hunt and bring home a deer, if it was safe right now, or if they should possibly wait.
I'll bring the expert up.
Thank you, Governor. Yeah, Stephen Clark, I serve as the Colonel of Wildlife and Fisheries Enforcement Division. We have no reason to believe that harvesting deer in and around this area poses any threat at this time.
Let me just say this too. You know, I'm an avid hunter, and I go out into our outdoors. One thing I've noticed about things, like deer will not eat grass with oil on it. Like, they know better, right? And so I think that's important. You don't have to educate a deer not to eat something that it shouldn't eat. Okay, and you, sir?
detail okay, how are we actually doing this during the shutdown?
Yeah, this is under emergency authority, but the funds are secure. There is no threat, and there will not be a threat to.
How long does that last?
It's,
Like 2 weeks, a month, a year?
no, there's no time, there's no end date on that. It
How
is,
much money is
this
set
is
aside?
not, this is not impacted in any way, shape, or form.
How much money do you set aside currently?
We would have to get you certain numbers, but, we're not concerned about that. This job will be completed.
And again, look, I'll tell you, during these government shutdowns, the one thing that I do know is that essential personnel are allowed to continue to function. At least that's when it was, say, 14 years ago when I was in Congress. But again, it certainly is nerve-wracking for the federal employees that are out here. It certainly is a distraction. There are some services that our citizens are not going to get. There are some things that are in jeopardy that are not essential that we look for. And it's one of the reasons that the Senate Democrats should quit playing games and get on with the business of the federal government. Okay, well, listen, really do appreciate it. Thank you all so very much. We'll have an update next time there's something that happens on the site to kind of keep you informed of how the cleanup progress goes. Thank you.
Governor, do you plan to hold Smitty's accountable for the explosion? How will you keep this from happening again, sir? Governor, how do you plan to keep this explosion from happening at Smitty's or a similar plant again?
Little log got some life in there yet.
Sorry?
So this little log got some life in there yet.